This is a story worth remembering, and the story starts now. It was a cold November morning in 1931, the kind of morning where the damp chill cuts through even the thickest wool coat. Somewhere in the industrial heart of the Midwest, a young man sat alone on a factory floor, his fingers raw from gripping metal tools, his face smudged with grease. But his mind was elsewhere. He'd been there for hours, tinkering, testing, failing, but failure didn't faze him, not anymore, because he'd already failed at so much. Failed at school, failed at finding steady work, even failed as a son, according to some. But this was different. This machine he was building could change everything. You see, back in those days, times were tough. The Great Depression had sunk its claws into America. Bread lines stretched for blocks. Banks were collapsing. And here he was, just another face in the crowd, a high school dropout, factory worker, a nobody, or so it seemed. Born in 1908, he grew up in Dearborn, Michigan. His father worked long hours as a machinist, and his mother kept the family together with sheer determination. Money was tight, luxuries non-existent, but what he lacked in resources, he made up for with an insatiable curiosity. As a boy, he spent countless hours disassembling clocks, radios, anything he could get his hands on, not to destroy them, but to understand them, to make them better. By the age of 12, he'd built his first rudimentary engine. By 15, he was tinkering with cars, but while his mechanical genius was undeniable, his academic performance was less impressive. School bored him. He wanted action, not lectures. So at 16, he dropped out. Against his parents' wishes, he struck out on his own. For years, he drifted from job to job, mechanic, machinist, factory hand. Each one paid just enough to keep him afloat, but none of them satisfied his restless spirit. And then, tragedy struck. In 1929, the stock market crashed. His savings vanished. His dreams of starting his own business seemed further away than ever. That's when he found himself back at the factory, back to square one. Except this time, he wasn't just another cog in the machine. He had an idea that could revolutionize an entire industry. All he needed was time and a little bit of luck. The idea was simple, or at least it seemed that way. What if he could create a machine that was smaller, cheaper, and more efficient than anything else on the market? Something the average person could afford. Something that would bring power, literal power, to the people. For weeks, he worked in secret. The factory foreman turned a blind eye. Maybe he saw potential in the kid, or maybe he just felt sorry for him. Either way, the young man's after-hours experiments continued. Piece by piece, he assembled the prototype. A lightweight, air-cooled engine, compact, durable, and most importantly, cheap to produce. But here's the twist. This engine, it wasn't meant for cars. No, the young man had his sights set on something much smaller, something that would transform rural America. Because in those days, most farms still relied on horses for plowing, planting, and harvesting. Tractors were a luxury, out of reach for most, until now. In early 1932, he unveiled his invention, the first ever practical small gas engine. Farmers could mount it on anything, plows, saws, pumps. It was versatile, affordable, and it worked. He called it the Model A. The reception was lukewarm at first. Dealers were skeptical. Could this dropout really compete with the big names? But then word spread. Farmers who'd bought the engine raved about its reliability, its ease of use. Orders started trickling in, then pouring in. And before long, he had a decision to make. Stay at the factory or take a leap of faith. You already know what he chose. By 1937, his company was selling over 100,000 engines a year. By 1940, they were the largest producer of small engines in the world. His products powered everything from lawnmowers to generators. And during World War II, they even found their way into military equipment. But success didn't come without challenges. As his company grew, so did the competition. Rivals scrambled to replicate his designs, often at a lower cost. Lawsuits were filed, patents were disputed. Yet through it all, he remained focused, innovating, improving. He refused to rest on his laurels. During the war years, his company played a crucial role in the Allied effort. His engines powered everything from portable pumps to small vehicles. Soldiers in the field came to rely on their durability and efficiency. Back home, his factories ran around the clock. He hired thousands of workers, many of them women who were stepping into industrial roles for the first time. His contribution to the war effort didn't go unnoticed. In 1944, he received a commendation from the War Department for his company's critical support. After the war, demand for his engines skyrocketed. America was booming. Suburbs were sprouting up like wildflowers, and every new home seemed to come with a lawn that needed mowing. His lightweight, reliable engines became the standard for lawnmowers, cementing his company's place in history. By the 1950s, his name was known worldwide. But despite his success, he never forgot his roots. He often visited the factory floor, chatting with workers, listening to their ideas. He believed in the power of teamwork, in lifting others up, and he gave back to his community, funding scholarships, donating to local schools, and supporting charities. By the time he retired in the 1960s, his company was a household name. Millions of engines had been produced, and his vision to bring affordable power to the people had transformed countless lives. Today, his engines are still in use. His legacy lives on in every hum of a lawnmower, every roar of a chainsaw, and every corner of the world where people need power. Because that high school dropout from Michigan didn't just build an engine, he built a future. His name, Briggs, Stephen Foster Briggs, and that's a story worth remembering. Thank you for joining us on A Story Worth Remembering. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or made you reflect, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below with your favorite moment or lesson from today's episode. Subscribe to our channel for more unforgettable stories that inspire and uplift. Don't forget to smash the bell so you never miss a tale worth remembering. And if you enjoyed this, please like the video. It helps us share these stories with more people. Together, let's keep the art of storytelling alive. See you in the next story.